Okay, everybody, welcome back to another mildly informed review. And today you are going to be getting a 2-in-1 as we take a look at the Transformers Legacy United, Rock Boy and Lava Girl. Let's take a closer look at them. Starting with Magneous, I actually like this figure a lot more than I thought I would. I love the asymmetry in the sculpt. I do kind of wish that there was a little bit more paint on him, but the paint that we do get is well enough applied. We get that light gray. We also get some black on the face and the knee vents and also on the windows of the vehicle mode. We also have two different shades of silver on the front bumper of the car that we'll get into and around the windows as well. And yeah, there's some more of that nicely shaded gray in there. Of course, the main attribute of this guy is that you can take off all of his limbs and body parts and just leave him in a husk on the floor to be picked up by other Transformers to be used in their own villainous concoctions of mimicry and mimery, which I actually find quite charming, and it makes me wonder if we're going to get a huge rock combiner at the end of this, like we did with the Junkions. I think that would be pretty neat. Anyway, once you're done with all of that, you can easily put them back together. If you get confused, there are letters on the insides of the pieces that indicate right and left and so forth, and it's easy enough. You do also, on the pickaxe, get some nubs that are for something more in the vehicle mode, but you can also fit Bouldercrash onto the pickaxe, which is the best thing I've ever seen. For articulation, the head is pinned into the neck, which I hate. You do get a really tight rotation, but you get very little up and down. The arms can go in and out. They can rotate 360. You can also bend 90 at the elbow, and you get a rotation in there. The hand is on a ball joint. You can wrist swivel and bring it in a little bit. For transformation, you get a waist swivel, legs go forward and back and out on a really, really tight universal joint. 90 at the knee and rotation, and the feet can go all the way forward and a little bit back, and you get a little bit of ankle pivot. And overall, this guy just has good presence. He's just a big, brutish boulder who looks good no matter what pose you put him in. Although standing can be an issue at times, but if you get the feet right, he stands with very little realistic problems. To transform, we're going to start with the feet, and you're going to go ahead and flip those things all the way up, and they will become the bed of the truck. You can go ahead and pin them together. There's a couple on the feet themselves, and then there's this really big one on the back that you got to really push to get together. But you can get it, no problem. And then we're going to go up to the torso, and it just feels like it's going to break. You want to go ahead and pull up the chest, and the wheels are very, very uncomfortable to get undone. You got to kind of force them, and I feel like it's going to break over time, but we shall see. Anyway, fold the arms in, and you want to make sure that the fists are rotated so that the back of the hand meshes with the rest of the rock detail on the outside of the door. And they will just fit nice and comfortably up into the interior of the truck. And, of course, just do the same thing on the other side. And now you can take the legs and do the classic movement and just lock them all into place. There's a little nub that will plug into the arms, and now you are naturally 100% done with the transformation. Just kidding. Yeah, you're going to rotate the head in, and then you have the truck all completed. And you can store his weapon. You have a couple of post-port connections on the bottoms of the feet, or on the leg parts, whatever part of the foot that was. And it just kind of helps to hold the truck even better together. And honestly, the truck looks pretty 95%, dude. The paint really comes out in this mode. You get the nice gradient from the front to the back. The one thing that I don't really get is the grates on the windows. But I mean, we're talking about rocks that turn into trucks that are also alive. So getting into some comparisons, here he is with something old, something new, and he scales up pretty well with modern stuff. Drift is also just a little bit big, but going back to the pickaxe, you're gonna want to take it off, and then you gonna take the whole bed of the truck and just rip it off. And honestly, the rock truck still looks pretty good without it. So I'm curious to see if and who they're going to remold this into, which surely they must eventually. But anyway, take the feet. Excuse you, email. Take the feet, rip them apart, and then there are some posts on the back of the knees that are going to plug into the Bouldercrash holders that are on the top of the pickaxe. And you're going to plug those in, and then you have just one big colossal battering ram that you can poke into the front grille of the truck and just mow people down. Case in point. And it's just dumb fun. It's dumb fun. In robot mode, you can also attach Bouldercrash to his knees if you just needed to give your figure an extra couple of legs up. He doesn't hold on that well, though. In robot mode, I also like to use it as a sort of crossbow. You have to leave Magneous kind of Lieutenant Dan, and he can't really sit up, but you can do it. Honestly, my main complaint with this figure is that there's no place to plug the pickaxe into to store it on the robot mode, which I find very strange considering the nature of the plug port connection nowadays. And apart from the head being pinned in, I mean, this figure is really pretty well done. I wish there were more paint on it, just a little bit, maybe some like lava details. I do love the sculpt though, and the paint that is applied is pretty nice. I paid full retail for this figure, which is getting upwards of like $27, and I'm going to give this figure a specific 22.5 out of 27.
Pretty good, right?
I'd say a solid B-.
And going back for some size comparisons, here he is with something old and something new and something a little bit taller than him. Let's bring back Bludgeon. And then here he is with his wave mate, the core class Bouldercrash, who we'll take a look at next. And this is another case of me liking the figure more than I thought I would. The sculpting on her and the coloration and the paint really shines on this figure. You get that nice lava detail, and you get like two different color browns, like that nice reddish brown and then the more like standard like rock dirt brown. And the biggest problem is that egregious backpack, but we'll get into that. And then the faceplate, you get some nice red eyes and then this like pinkish copperish color on her mouth plate. So overall, I love the look of this figure. And of course, you do just get the front of the motorcycle and that ugly post just poking out of the back there. And then for accessories, you also do get her like blade lance thing that will eventually become the seat and the front of the tricycle. And there's a small post under it that you can use to plug into her hands. And this thing is just absolutely massive. I kind of love it and kind of think it's egregious at the same time. The way that I like to pose her, I actually like to take the blade and have it underslung. I like to plug it into the bottom of her fist, and then I will rotate the arm so that the elbow is inward. And for some reason, I just feel like that integrates into the form a lot better. And you can rotate the blade a little bit in her hand so that you can give her kind of a mock elbow. And then for size comparisons, here she is with something a little old, something a little new, And then here she is with her castmate, Sir Magneous. So stacking up pretty well. For articulation, her head is on a ball joint, so she can get a full 360. She can't really look up, though, but she can get a pretty good amount down, so I guess that's fine. Her arms are on a ball joint, but they cannot go all the way out. You will end up popping it off. But 360-degree rotation. And then all the joints are ball joints, except for the waist. And you do get a weird like neck swivel thing that's part of transformation, but yeah. And then you do get an actual waist swivel. And then ball joints all in the legs, and then you get no ankle pivot, which is ultimately just fine. You can also use her shoulder joint as kind of a butterfly joint if you wanted to. And even though the post is kind of ugly, it does actually come quite in handy when you're posing, even though it does look like she's shitting literal bricks. For weapon storage, she technically doesn't have any, but she also technically kind of does. You can plug the blade into the spot where it goes in vehicle mode, but you will never get her to stand. Unless you can rotate the blade to the front and kind of arch her forward, and you can, in fact, get her to stand like that. For an alternative bit of storage, you can also just break the two pieces apart. It's just a friction hinge. You can plug the windshield bit into her hand or back onto the front, wherever you want to put it. And then this actual lance piece has a tab that you can put into the wheel, the actual like shock on the wheel. I don't know if it's supposed to do that, but you can do that, putting the windshield back on the windshield piece. You still can't get her to stand, but that is an alternative form of storage if you want to try to do that. Finally getting into transformation, you want to start by turning her head around, and you're going to want to rotate the wheel section up, and her head is going to sit in this cavity right above the wheel. And then her collar piece, you want to flip that up and cover the back of her head. Next up, you want to rotate the shoulders around to where they're going to sit in vehicle mode. And then there are two like cutouts on the forearms that will plug into a post in the actual post of her on her back. Next, you're going to want to rotate that whole wheel piece 180 degrees. And then you're going to want to rotate the waist 180 degrees too. It can be kind of finicky to get around, but you can do it, no problem. And then there are two tabs on the inside of each of her feet that you're going to plug into the holes on her back post. And they'll stay in there pretty solidly. And then once you have the rickshaw mode, you just want to take her windshield and plug it into the actual front. You want to make sure the shoulder pieces are tight together so that it can fit over them. And then just plug everything in, and then you can leave the lance out if you want to, but you want to rotate it back and kind of plug it between the arms. And then there you have her tricycle mode, which kind of confuses me, but I love it. The biggest fault I have with these is honestly the wheels. I think the wheels might have looked better on the inside of the legs, and they definitely had room to do that, so I don't know why they didn't. The shocks also kind of throw me off too. It's just weird seeing actual motorcycle parts on a rock. It makes my brain wig out. For size comparisons, here she is with something a little old, something new. I said something new. Anyway, there's Iguanas. And then here they are in side view. And honestly, she's a pretty chunky core class. Iguanas definitely feels lacking in comparison with Bouldercrash. And then here she is with her partner, Magneous. Honestly, I love this figure. My only big grievance is that post on the back. I don't think it would be so bad if they had sculpted it to be a bit more rocky. But other than that, this is a really good figure. I picked her up retail for about $11, so I'm going to give her a solid 9 out of 11. And honestly, both of these figures are really good. If you pick one up, I highly recommend picking up the other, because I picked up Magneous, and he was just so lonely by himself. If you were to pick one, I'd probably go with Bouldercrash, just because you technically get more bang for your buck, but honestly, they're both just really, really lovely little figures. If you're looking for an excuse to get these figures, there was a planet in Drift Empire of Stone that had an army of rock creatures that Gigatron was trying to conquer. And that's my excuse for having them on my shelves. And I also like to pair them with the Age of Extinction dinos because they look like they're made of rocks too. Anyway, this has been the review of Legacy United Bouldercrash and the other one. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you for checking it out. Follow me on social medias and all of that crap, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.